Well, hello. Hopefully you guys can see me all right. I am going to take a moment and put the chat up on the screen, so bear with me a little bit. We don't really have an itinerary or anything like that today. Obviously, this is not a live sale. I'm just hanging out. So thank you for joining me. Yeah, I just thought I'd just mess around just a little bit. So we can talk about whatever we like, not just choral. But I do have some announcements and things like that. But yeah, just let me know in chat if you can hear me okay, and I will work on getting you guys on screen. So just a moment. Can you hear and see me okay? Question mark. All right. Oh, broadcasting software. Oh, dope. Dope. I am so confused. Capture window. Configure. Okay, here we go. Maybe. Okay, I'm gonna select this guy, get the chat window up there. Oh! Okay. Okay, hopefully that didn't crash my machine. It it gave me the what is that, like the spinning ball of death for a moment there. So let's see. Hopefully now you guys can see chat as well. So I'm doing what I usually do every night, every Saturday night, just hang out at home with my cats alone. So thank you guys for joining me. And what am I drinking? I'm drinking water, which by the way, I'm running low on. I'm probably gonna have to get some more of this. Okay. So what are you guys up to tonight, besides hanging out with me? You guys got any plans later on? Yeah, not too much to report on my end. Um, and I think that's part of the reason why I can kind of take a little bit of time to do some live streaming. I've been planning a couple videos for down the line, but it was really tough. I mean, as a YouTube creator, this is like such a I don't know, such a first world problem, but we've made over 200 videos on this channel, and it is really difficult to keep generating, I guess, like ideas and stuff like that for future videos and stuff that we can actually film. I mean, a lot of stuff that I would like to do, we can't really do because, like, for example, a lot of the stuff that Bulk Reef Supply does, by the way, I think that a lot of their recent videos have been really, really great in that they go and they test a bunch of different things, and they can just show you like the results of all their measurements and stuff like that. And unfortunately, we can't do stuff like that here because all of our tanks are in a greenhouse. And with them being out in a greenhouse like that, there's so little that you can control. I mean, every year we get better and better at controlling things like temperature, things like lighting and stuff, but you never really have full control, and certainly nothing, measurable. So when people ask for an update on like the T5 lighting setup, I'm like, yeah, they're fine, I guess. They're still. Sorry, like, I'm. I don't know if you can hear this, but I'm basically where my cats are usually hanging out at this time, and I've kind of set up a studio right on top of them, and so they're just like running around chasing each other, and if you hear some like hissing and fighting in the background, that's them. But yeah, so the T5 lights, yeah, they seem to be fine, but there's so many factors that go into whether or not a coral is doing well, especially out at the greenhouse. That if they were doing really, really well, you can't really put it on the lighting. If they were doing really, really poorly, again, can't really put it on the lighting. I mean, it could be just a bad chemistry day that day because the greenhouse is an open structure. So that day, somebody might have been spraying insecticide or pesticide or fertilizer on their lawn, and some of it got wafted into the greenhouse, and suddenly one of your tanks just looks terrible. And it's like, well, not a whole lot you can do about that. That's just going to happen. Or just like some random horde of bugs decides to all just start trying to lay eggs in your tank. That happens occasionally. When we had like the cicadas, they just dive bomb and just commit suicide in our tank. So there's like hundreds of dead cicadas just rotting in our tank, raising the nitrates and phosphates and whatever else. So yeah, hard to say what how the corals are doing with regard to a very specific thing like how are the lights? They still turn on. So yeah, in that sense, it's fine. I guess I will do like an official video, but I mean, what am I really going to show? It's going to be the lights again, still working, tanks still fine. We did again. I think I mentioned on the actual live sale that a few months ago we tried some different ultra low nutrient system stuff, and that didn't go well. And I can't really figure out exactly what part of it went bad, but I mean, when you look at each individual piece, nothing should have gone wrong, and we used like much lower than the required dosage. We used like half doses and eventually dropped that down to like a quarter dose. And within 7 days, stuff started to look really rough, like really, really rough. And I think we probably lost like 30% of our corals. And it took another month or so of just ridiculously aggressive water changes to get that to bounce back. So now things actually look pretty good. I mean, not everything's not perfect, but everything never is, even if it's like not summertime. Because if you followed our channel, you'll know that I hate the summertime because it's such a challenge when it comes to just keeping the corals in check in summer. There's so much about the season that causes issues at the greenhouse. So if the corals just survive summer, I'm happy. Because before, I mean, we would lose like half our corals come summertime. But right now, knock on wood, things are looking really nice. The colors are great. Yeah, I can't complain. I mean, certain things here and there will just die suddenly for no reason. But yeah, again, I can't complain. Okay, sorry guys, I have been neglecting chat. Dan, do you play video games? Micah Lobin. I used to be like a hardcore gamer. Like, I used to play World of Warcraft. I was very good. I was like a top tier, like raiding main tank. Like one of the top like warriors on the server sort of thing. I played about 40 hours a week. Now, mind you, at the time I was... Here, let me fix my microphone real quick. Get it angled a little bit. There. At the time, I was working about 30 hours a week as like a business consultant. And in the evenings, I was in law school and still playing 40 hours a week of World of Warcraft. It was something you can only do when you're young, I guess, because I don't know how I fit in sleep or food or studying during any of that, or even like, yeah, I don't know how that whole period happened. It was about a 4-year stretch that was kind of a blur, and at the end I had gotten my law degree, I was switching jobs, and I quit World of Warcraft right as that period ended. I just got sick of World of Warcraft, and it's like, well, great timing, I probably could have done better in school, could have done better at work had I not been spending 40 hours a week doing that. So right now, all I play is, I play Clash of Clans on my phone for about like 10 minutes a day. And I play Darkest Dungeon. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. It's kind of like this indie side-scroller game. and it's like this Lovecraftian, I guess, RPG adventure thing. And the thing about it, Our Darkest Dungeon, is that it's ridiculously challenging. And part of the fun of it is that everybody in your party dies a lot. So I was thinking about, doing like a video game stream, just like kind of like this, but it's kind of like a hangout. Maybe I'll do it on my personal channel when I get a new computer, because when I tried to run Darkest Dungeon as well as this broadcasting software, my underpowered Mac laptop wanted to catch on fire. So until I get like a new computer, unfortunately, I can't really do it. All right. If you had to do it again, would you still do a greenhouse for coral instead of something more climate controlled? This is from Kevin Cortez. Well, I'm not going to reveal too many of the internal workings at Tidal Gardens, but if I were to do it again, it depends on my budget. So the nice thing about a greenhouse is that it's actually inexpensive. Even the way that we did it, which was, eventually turns into cost no object, it's a lot less expensive than a conventional building. And that sounds counterintuitive, but there's stuff that you can get away with in a greenhouse that you kind of can't get away with in a conventional building. And in order for you to have thousands of gallons of water in a conventional building, you have to kind of make a bigger investment into things like ventilation and HVAC and stuff like that, plus the maintenance cost of all that. So by doing it in a greenhouse, despite all of the, I guess, inherent problems with the greenhouse, you don't have four-figure electricity bills trying to manage humidity, things like that. So yeah, it kind of depends on the budget. I mean, if we're talking like a whole bunch of money, really costs no object, I like to have a conventional building. But nobody really starts off with that. I mean, just think of it this way. If you were to, just in your house or apartment, decided to fill it up 80% of the full floor space with tanks, how would you prevent these tanks from literally eating the building alive and eating all of your electronics, all your fixtures? Everything would start to rust within like the first week. So I mean, how do you prevent that? It's quite a challenge. Better yet, how do you prevent it from flooding one day? And because I guarantee it will flood. Something stupid will happen. Something stupid always happens. A snail gets jammed into an overflow. You have a flood. I mean, it's gonna flood. So yeah, I mean, it can be really, really challenging. In a greenhouse, it floods. It's a big deal. It's a greenhouse. Okay, let's see. Reef dudes, do you have ever used ozone in your tanks? No, but I think I might actually try it someday. So, one thing I'm kind of looking at later is like a coral or like a water cistern, just to collect rainwater and things like that. And you have to do all kinds of stuff if you want to use rainwater collection. And obviously you have to do some kind of sterilization. But one thing in particular that I liked about using ozone for that sterilization process is that it oxidizes iron. And so, like, we have like really high iron content in the water here, like from the well and whatnot. And I have like a pretty beefy iron filter in my basement. But I guess ozone, since it oxidizes iron and basically just pulls it all out of solution, it effectively acts as a disinfectant as well as a rust remover from the water supply. So I would consider that. Julian George, why didn't you practice law? Believe it or not, I went to law school, and in the application, I had written that I had no intention of ever practicing law. And I said specifically I wanted to use it as like a side skill to help with my entrepreneurial endeavors. And they let me in anyway. So that's crazy. Like, if you think about it, so at my law school, there's about 200 seats. And there was about 2,500 applicants. So I'm the reason why somebody who wanted to be a lawyer couldn't have that opportunity. And I told everybody day one I wasn't going to be a lawyer. Um, and actually, I passed the bar and everything. Like, I could practice law. The closest I came was after law school. And Tidal Gardens was kind of a side project. It was going on the entire time, but it was, I mean, it was like more hobby than business, and it was more just like a money sink that just didn't do a whole lot. But I went off and I worked uh, doing kind of intellectual property slash corporate law stuff, like business law. But it wasn't really. I wasn't actually a lawyer. I was like I think the position was director of technology transfer at a university. Let's see. Have you ever had issues running Carbon? Seems like every time I change it lately, my LPS gets pissed off for a couple days. Funny you mention that. I never really had problems before with Carbon, but lately if I use Carbon at the greenhouse, sometimes things do get wonky, and I don't know why. Like, why would Carbon affect anything? But it does happen. Um, yeah, I have no idea why. Um, my dad like absolutely hates the idea of using Carbon, and I'm like, Carbon is like a proven thing for 50 years in this hobby. Like, people have done it forever and it's not an issue. But he's convinced that Carbon is like the devil, and he freaks out whenever we use Carbon. And honestly, we don't really get great results using Carbon, so we haven't in a really long time. And we're talking like activated Carbon, like just charcoal. Adam Norville. Hey Dan, I have a big problem with. And I really apologize if I'm just missing people in chat. I'm just chatting, just talking. Big problem with flatworms on my euphyllia. It's not really hurting them, just tons of worms. They're actually eating your euphyllia. If they're sitting on your euphyllia, they are eating them. I heard your water quality cleaner will kill them off. What you want to do is flatworm exit. So flatworm exit is not like the most powerful chemical in the world to do that, but it is really inexpensive. It does work. It's fairly gentle. It'll like really upset some fish for a little while. Like copper band butterflies, for example, don't like it, but it works. And we started to do like an ongoing rotation of it, because I mean, like, a couple eggs will survive, and like some of them will pop back up. If we get a new coral, it might come in on that, and then it gets moved around from a couple of different tanks, and all of a sudden 3,000 gallons worth of of reef systems now has like a couple of flatworms, which if you leave that untreated will become thousands of flatworms. So we could just kind of have this like rotation where like, okay, set 1 or set 2 or set 3 will get a treatment of flatworm exit, just like clockwork, just prophylactically treating the tanks, because I mean it's not really practical, or I don't even think it's possible to completely eliminate pests in the systems of our size. So it is just a management process. So that should work for you. Okay. How did you get so sexy? It never happened. Flooded my house twice. Yeah. It happens. I mean, floods happen all the time. And float valves. So I'm actually making a video about plumbing where I talk about float valves briefly. Float valves are not perfect. They will buy you time, but you really should design your system in such a way where you didn't need the float valve to begin with. Rob, big fan, bro. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining us. I guess we're in this together. How many people have decided to hop in here? 71. Pretty good. Thanks, guys. This is way better than going to a bar, right? Let's see. Did you ever figure out why your implementation of aquaphors didn't work out at the greenhouse? No, Yvonne. Like, so, okay, let's go over all the stuff that I used. I used the GFO thing, right? We've used GFO before. It's not a big deal. Just make sure that you're not, I guess, overstripping the water, right? So we weren't overstripping the water. In fact, we still had high nitrates and phosphates the entire time. It's not like, oh, it ever even approached 0. It never approached 20. Like, there was a lot of phosphate, a lot of nitrate still while all this was going on. So I kind of don't think it was the GFO component. Then we used the carbon, and it's carbon, right? So I mean, if you're like my dad, who thinks that carbon is like the worst thing to ever be put into salt water, maybe that could be it. But come on, like how many of you guys use carbon in your tanks right now? It would be a hard sell for me to believe that it completely nuked 5,000 gallons when you're using half the quantity that you're supposed to. Third, we used zeolite. I guess it's possible that that the zeolite did something. Typically, the thing that people run into problems when it comes to zeolites is that it can strip out potassium. And if you're not replenishing potassium, that could be a problem. Now, we didn't really test potassium, but we did water changes this whole time. And potassium is kind of like a highly conserved ion where, I mean, it's not like calcium or alkalinity where it's a heavy usage ion like that. It's really not. So for it, on like literally like a third to a half dose of the zeolites in these tanks, I'd have a hard time believing that it somehow stripped out 400 parts per million of potassium without. And by the way, it's worse to go too high in potassium than too low. So I don't know if it was a zeolite. It's unlikely. So then we use the two probiotic things. The first probiotic thing is the actual bacteria. We didn't use that much of it. The second one is the probio thing. So it's the two droplets of the probiotic stuff. So I think the second one is just like the synthetic carbon source. And then we used like the amino acids, like the food stuffs. So there's like the four, like, you know, build, vitality, whatever. And we use like very little of that stuff. So yeah, all mixed together. Like I can't think of like one single item that would have caused anything. And it's nothing that we could test for that would have been the problem. I mean, we tested everything and all the parameters came back fine-ish, except for ironically high phosphate and nitrate. So yeah, I don't know. It's not something that I would like spend a lot of time trying to figure out, because what did help was, and again, I keep on going back to this, but we did a lot of water changes and it did bring back corals from the brink of death back to nice bright colors and growth. So I'm kind of sold there. Vladaruz. Hi, Than. When do you plan your next trip to Japan? I'm actually going in November. I am very much looking forward to that. Okay, I'm going to scroll back up real quick because I missed a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. Yeah. All right. Are you still using the Vectra L still? Yes, I am. Now, I have to say though that I think that I had ordered like 6 or even maybe even more than 6. But I think they all came from like a bad batch, and their impellers tend to get stuck. But to Ecotech's credit, I mean, they were very, very good about replacing them when that did happen. So I always had like a backup on hand, but I did have to swap out like a bunch of them and had to do some returns. But yeah, I mean, I like them so far. I mean, I guess the only thing that that's kind of weird is that you can never trust like pump flow rate. I guess like whatever they say that they can do, Because like for example, like an Ecotech Vectra says that it can push like 3,000 gallons per hour. And then when you compare that to like an Iwaki 100 RLT that says that it can push like 1100, I mean, between the two, I can tell you which one is going to push a lot more flow, and it is not the Ecotech Vectra. And I don't know why. It's just, when it comes to, these types of pump ratings, it's just all over the map. So, I mean, they don't handle pressure quite as well, but they're very energy efficient and they're very quiet, and I like that. Like, if was doing this for my home aquarium, I would consider it because like the noise factor, means a lot to me. I don't really fiddle with the controls too much, but I mean that's certainly a selling point. I mean, you can't really tune down in a walkie. Okay. When dosing flatworm exit as a prophylactic, do you do it at full strength every time? Yes. You should stream at the bar. No. I'm drinking some Irish whiskey. There you go. Thoughts on algae scrubbers? I had an algae scrubber a million years ago. Like one of the original ones from, what's that place in Indiana? Do you guys like know what I'm talking about? Inland Aquatics. Yeah. Than, you start Zeovit? Nope. Just finished a water change. Wow, Than is on. Yay. Thanks for coming. Sexy cabinet? Sorry. Look for healthy aquarium, not for sexy cabinet. I missed the context of that. Not sure. Dan, come to Italy. Nice weather. I've never been to Italy. Thank you for the invite. I've been all of Europe had. I mean, I haven't been to Europe since I was like a junior in high school, and I've always been meaning to go back. And I mean, I have like friends that are all over Europe, and I just haven't made that trip, but I really would like to. Which is crazy because I've been to like Japan 4 times or something like that recently, relatively recently. I'm using the Jabo. Okay, what kind of salt do you use? So Ricky Rose, we use Omega C, mainly because they have really good delivery options. We buy salt like skids at a time, so I mean it's like 50 something per skid, and so this like my greenhouse was built basically in my backyard, and we never, at least I never really thought that it would be anything more than just kind of like a part-time hobby thing, but it eventually got to the point where I could quit my day job. And I never ever thought that I would require semi truckloads of things like salt and shipping boxes and stuff. And these are like total, again, first world problems. I know a lot of people that would love to have my problems, but my driveway cannot accommodate a full semi truck. It is a small, narrow residential driveway, and yeah, so big trucks can't come. So some places they won't work with you on freight. In like, so I'll say like, hey, I don't have a dock. I need a pop truck or a straight truck with a lift gate, and some places are just like, no, it's gonna come on a 60-foot semi. I'm like, well, I can't buy your salt. So there's that. Do you talk to Mike Pletter or Sanjay ever? So Julian George, I have talked to them once, ever. They actually came and visited my greenhouse. Yeah, they're nice guys. But only once, only once. Hopefully, I'll run into them again. Because they're really not far. I think that they're just in the Pennsylvania area. So, I mean, I don't know how often they're in this neck of the woods. I know how often I'm in their neck of the woods. Never. So it's like when it comes to like traveling overseas, I'm more likely to see somebody overseas than see somebody an hour away. That's just how it is. Like if I am getting up and out of here, I am getting way up and out of here. So unfortunately, like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, may as well be Berlin. Like that's how far away that is. So I'm unfortunately like I haven't been out there to see any of what they have going on. But yeah, they've been over here once. Have you ever used Aquacraft salts? No, I have not. The only other salts I really used were we used Instant Ocean and Reef Crystals. Than, what's your favorite food? Um, right now, food's kind of not my thing. uh, I go in and out of like vegetarianism, and so right now I'm not eating a lot of meat. Um, so I don't think too much about it. But when I did eat meat, I like sushi a lot, and especially like the good stuff from Tokyo and stuff. Did you ever dose Fido, and have you seen any results from it? So again, it's one of those things where yeah, we've done a little bit of Fido, and I think that like certain corals definitely perk up. It's hard to say if it was from the Fido or not, but I could definitely tell like soft corals and stuff like that would perk up. Hey Fan, will there be a live show this month? So Brian, yes there will. It's going to be coming in a couple weeks, so I believe that would be the 29th. Look at the calendar here. 29th. So if you're ever curious about when the next live show is, always check the Tidal Gardens website and just go to that live sale link. And if I'm on my game, I'll actually say the next live show is at such and such date. And they're almost always at 2 p.m. What is the most hideous mistake in the saltwater world to date? Warts and all. Can you rephrase? Not sure what you mean. Ever heard of zoopox? Yes, it happens. So zoanthids, I always get asked, are zoas easy? And I would say yes, zoas are easy. But there's a lot of things that can mess with zoas, and that would make them a lot more challenging. So they are susceptible to all sorts of parasites, and just straight up predators. Certain fish that don't bother anything might bother a zoanthid. Like even certain tangs I've had just like decide to go rogue and eat a colony of zoas, just out of nowhere. Like who does that, right? But zoopox is also one of those little, bacterial ailments, I believe. It kind of looks like little, white pimples. And there's a certain number of dips and things like that you can do. You can just also just provide a lot more flow and just pop them like zits. It's kind of gross, but you can do it. And it's usually from detritus settling on them and then them getting kind of like these sores. So it's not a huge deal, but I mean it'll close them up for a while if you have it. Okay. Need to go with me to Indo and Palau to visit coral farms. That'd be nice. I would actually like to go to kind of do like the swim through tour of Indonesia and Australia and just like see all the different reefs. However, I hear the reefs are struggling. I don't know. I just heard it on the internet. I don't know if it's true or not. I have a 60 cube with 4 baby clowns, chorus, wrasse, bunny, blah, 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 blah. Do you think feeding half of cube of mice a day is enough? I would probably feed heavier, to be perfectly honest. I'm not one of those guys that like feeds like every other day or something like that. If I was to go on like feeding less or feeding more, I'm definitely on on the feeding heavier side of things. Like I like to keep everything really fat and just deal with whatever pollution issues might come from that. What's the par on your cheap T5s? I think when we tested it, so it's a lot of it depends on the height of the T5s, right? How high, because the inverse square law, like if you increase the distance, it's like you have to like square root the intensity or something like that. Uh, Inverse square law, go have some Google foo with that. Ask Dr. Google all about it. But roughly 8 to 12 inches above the water, and we tend to hang our lights higher because we don't want a lot of splashing to hit the lights, because like ultimate par isn't my thing. Anyway, to answer your question, roughly 150 to 200, I would say, but it's probably a lot less than that now because the bulbs are older. But since it's summertime and we have a lot of natural light, I'm not worried about replacing bulbs anytime soon. Have you seen Chasing Coral? No, I posted about it on Facebook this morning, but no, I haven't seen it. I don't actually have Netflix, so either I have to like watch it at a friend's house or acquire it by other clandestine means. Yeah, I heard it's kind of depressing, but that doesn't surprise me because everything that I've heard and read about like the coral bleaching epidemic in Australia is kind of a bummer, and I don't think that I don't think any government on Earth is doing a whole lot to prevent that decline. I think that um, if it comes down to whether like the coal mining industry in Australia is going to thrive or the coral reefs are going to get saved, you can kiss the coral reefs goodbye, and that's exactly what's happened. So it's kind of unfortunate. Okay, Anthony, I'm sorry, but you gone. I have to block you. No swearing. See, like, I swear every other word typically, but I have to be kind of militant about it because there are children. There are people who watch this with their kids, so I have to look out for them. Let's see. Christian Taylor, you're gone too. It's you know what? It's been a long time since I've been banning people. I feel like it's refreshing. If you're gonna eat a coral, what coral appetizes you know? I've smelled them too much. Evil doggy. I'm 14. Let's see. So I'm like looking around. Okay. JC Reefer, how does the par do in terms of growing acros? The par isn't a problem with growing acros. I mean, you really, I guess for most acros, you're going to be hovering in that 200 to 400 range, give or take. But what we see at the greenhouse, unfortunately, is summertime, and acros kind of hate it. So not so much there. And hello, Rossi's Reef. Flirting as usual, I see. Mark Natier, how you doing? Where's your mods? See, they don't even know. Like you guys are more in on the stream than the mods are. They're probably like, I don't know, having more of a life than me apparently. Let's see. What happened to Miss Saltwater Tank? She ejected from the YouTubes. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Not that I can talk about it if I did. Where do you keep your elk with SPS, LPS in the mix? I think our alkalinity was low for a while, like in the 5 range, but I think that it's a lot better now. I think it's about 7-ish, 8-ish. Her ex-partner deleted her channel. Huh, weird. How do you know that? Out of curiosity, Haley F, how do you know that? That's like extra gossipy. I'm curious. Hi, how's your business been going? It's summertime. So I've been saying like it's summertime, it's summertime, it's summertime. The entire, I guess, like coral reef hobby as an industry slows down dramatically in the summertime. So it's a little slow. So I'm definitely looking forward to this live sale coming up. It's going to be on the 29th, if you didn't already know, and help Than pay his bills. Than, have you never tested the Chinese LED box? No, I really haven't. I mean, I've seen so many of them, and what typically happens is people buy them. They're like, "Yeah, these are great," and I go back later, and they're not using them anymore. They're using something else. I'm like, what happened to those lights? And they're like, "Yeah, we got something better," or something stopped working on one of them, or a fan died on one. Something. There's always something, and maybe they get a replacement, but oftentimes they just like switch out to something else entirely. So I never really felt the inclination to try it. So as far as LEDs went, we did some stuff with Reef Bright. We played around with those. By the way, we still have like almost all of these lights. We did some stuff with Reef Brights. We did some stuff with Aqua Illumination, and we still have a few of those. And we did stuff with Radions. And I think I sold all of the Radions already because we don't have any more hanging. But yeah, we did. We messed with those guys. But I don't know. If we were to start a new system, a lot of people like the Radeon G4s. I know like Sanjay, I heard Sanjay liked them. I didn't actually like hear it like directly from him, but I heard like from other people that said that he liked them. And he's a lighting guy, so maybe. Are you watching Game of Thrones this weekend? Is it this weekend? Um, if I can find an illegal stream. Yeah. So okay, I'm not super crazy duper excited about the show because I think that plot wise it's kind of fallen off since George R. R. Martin had kind of like left the writing of the show to the showrunners, and he's gone to do to finish Winds of Winter. And I can kind of tell that like it's less like his influence and more of like the showrunners' influence. And the showrunners, I mean, as good as they are, they're not George R. R. Martin, who is like a generational talent as far as a fantasy fiction writer. So I can tell that there's this drop off, and I'm like, all right. So I can't get super excited about it, but I still do like the show. I mean, you can't tell me that the Dorne plot was good. I mean, come on, guys. So anyway, my SPS are quite happy under the Chinese box. Yeah, people like them. Dan, what's your favorite food? When I'm eating meat, it's probably sushi. Okay, I missed some context. Okay. What's your take on UV sterilizers? I like them. I just don't. I don't really use them because we kind of have to be conservative with the number of things we have plugged in. When we first started the greenhouse, I never really anticipated using quite so much in the way of electrical devices, so we've kind of maxed out all our circuits. So yeah, otherwise I probably would consider using it. Hello from Greece. Opinion about Aqua Illumination? They're okay. We're switching more towards T5 rather than LED right now, though. What are you talking about? Again, context. Any chance of networking with you? I don't know. I am a bit of a home. You're networking right now, aquarium guy. You're working right now. Okay, sorry, I'm just reading. Did you ever see Penny Dreadful? No, but I do like Ava Green, but I've never seen that show. Yeah, Rossi's Reef. I didn't like the Sand Snakes either. Yeah, the whole thing was dumb. I mean, the whole thing with Illyria Sand was dumb. The whole killing Doran Martell was dumb. It's just, what on earth were they thinking? Because like Doran Martell was supposed to be like one of like the great house masterminds, and he has like this plan to get even with the Lannisters and all this stuff. And it's like, or not. Apparently, like the show just like hit the eject button on that storyline. Oh, and also like Euron Greyjoy in the book is absolutely terrifying, and in the show he's like some dude, just some pirate dude. But in the book, like if you read, there's a released chapter from Winds of Winter that's all about Euron Greyjoy, and the guy's like terrifying. He's like a more sadistic Joker, absolutely chilling. And yeah, and again, it's like it's totally lost on the show. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely certain parts, and I don't want to be like a book snob because I didn't even read all the books, but there's certain elements of it that that just didn't translate that well. Beasts and Boss Fighter. We recently started watching your channel after reading a business plan on corals. Well, great, welcome. Thank you for watching. I could use the views. Do UV sterilizers kill pods and other live fauna in the tank? Basically anything that goes through a UV sterilizer. Like the whole point of UV is that it breaks down like the bonds in DNA. So theoretically, I should think it should kill a lot of stuff. Recommend a salt, whatever you like, and just stick with it. I think the problem that people run into a lot is switching salts, and salts are remarkably similar. So I think the most important thing is to get like very consistent batches, and whichever the ones that you're most comfortable with in that regard, I think is the one that you should stick with. Dan, did you have freshwater tanks or only salt? The last freshwater tank I had, I was probably 15 years old or something like that. It's been a long time since I've had freshwater. Dan, zeolite absorbs too much ammonia, breaking down the cycle in a reef tank. Okay. But the sort of things that we saw wasn't like... I don't think it was like nitrogen cycle related. Like the sort of stuff that we were seeing was like drastic to the point where like soft corals were dying. I mean, it was like bizarre. Would you say your T5s are suitable for a 24-inch deep tank? Sure. We have a 24-inch deep tank. And yeah, they're fine. Reef crystals or Red Sea. They're both fine. They both make salt. So I don't know if you caught it this morning, but I started to play around with a 360-degree little camera setup that I got. Now, the idea, I was talking to one of my friends that he is like a cyclist, And I said, you know what you should do? Because he for a long time he did biking tours all throughout Europe and stuff, and now he's back in the States, and he's starting to do that stuff again. It's like, listen, you know what you should do is you should live stream while you're on the bike, and he's essentially doing the same stuff that he would normally do, like talk about points of interest, like talk about the histories of like if he's driving by a castle or something like that, talk about that, talk about all the different restaurants in the area, basically being a bike tour guide. But you should just do the whole thing with this digital layer on top of it, where other people can kind of join in and see like these beautiful vistas and everything. Because like this guy's always in like Mallorca or someplace in Italy, in like the French Alps, all sorts of places. And it's like, a lot of people would probably it'd be cool to see kind of like what's going on around you. So stream it live, but stream it with a 360-degree camera so that, as you're riding, people can kind of like just like look around and see whatever it is that interests them. And, while I'm talking with them about this, I'm thinking, maybe I should just like try that as like just as a proof of concept just here. And so I actually built like, I have like a small backpack, and I kind of kitted it out, and actually I have it here. So hold on a sec. So I had some, I don't know if you guys can see this. Yeah, bring it over to here. So this is a regular, like a backpack that has like a, like a water bladder in it for, hiking and stuff. And I had these things, this metal stuff. And this metal stuff is for my scuba camera setup. And I don't even like, I live in Ohio. I don't get to go scuba diving very often, so I kind of cannibalized all this this scuba rigging, which is also used a lot in kind of like bigger budget cinematography when you have to like hook up camera parts and stuff. So anyway, I just kind of made a frame inside this bag so that it can kind of like hold all this other stuff kind of tight. Tighten this down a little. And right here on the end, I have a little Samsung 360-degree camera. Now, the cool thing about this 360 camera is that it wirelessly will broadcast to my to a smartphone, but preferably a Samsung, because Samsung to Samsung communication works. Because usually I'm like an iPhone guy, and so all my stuff is like, Apple. But this kind of needs to be like a seamless transition. So anyway, this little guy talks to the phone. And the nice thing about the Samsung Galaxy S8 is that it has like the latest and greatest cellular tech. And it's the only phone right now, I think, that has like the latest, I think, 4 different types of cellular stuff for the really high speed. And then T-Mobile is the only one that has implemented that in the most geographies. So in Akron is one of the geographies that T-Mobile has this next generation network. And so I was doing like an internet speed test on this phone, just on the cellular network, and it was like twice as fast on the upload side as my Wi-Fi is. So this is like the most expensive Wi-Fi that, or like the cable modem that cable service that I can get. And a cellular thing was literally like 1.5 times faster. So anyway, I'm able to stream through cellular with no data cap, 360-degree video. So anyways, I played around with it just a little bit. Now the problem that I run into is that like the app that's on the Samsung, it's very limited. So it says like, oh, you can totally stream like to Facebook, and you can totally stream to YouTube. When I tried to do the Facebook one, it could at least get down to oh, you want to do it on the Tidal Gardens page. Cool. But it didn't kind of work. It just said, it just did whatever it wanted to do, and I don't think it actually ever really broadcasted live. For YouTube, though, I have like this identity layer that's like Than Thane. This is, and so there's like a YouTube channel for Than Thane that has like no videos and no subscribers. And that is the thing that this can broadcast to. So it doesn't let me select the Tidal Gardens thing. So it can only broadcast to my personal YouTube channel, which is like not a thing. With that limitation, I decided to do it anyway. And so if you wanted to see like a quick, I don't know, it's like probably a 5-minute, 360-degree video thing, I'll probably do a few more and see if people like it, because it is kind of cool to be able to look where you want to look and not necessarily be dictated by a fixed camera thing. So anyway, something that I'll be messing with. Okay, I have to scroll back because I missed all of this stuff. Okay. I caught that. Learning how to make sushi. Okay. Freshwater. Okay. I think I'm actually almost caught up here. If you put Monty eating nudies in a UV sterilizer, will they no longer reproduce? I have no idea. So far, the only things that's really helped me with Monty eating nudibranchs is to have a variety of wrasses. In particular, Melanaris wrasses seem to do pretty well. Reef crystals in instant ocean have specific smell, which is quite nice. Reef crystals especially because they put a vitamin pack in there, which is may or may not be good, but they put it in there because they've had it from the beginning, and it's interesting. Aquaforest is a touchy subject. Fans plus haters. So I'm not a hater. Like, here's the thing. I have some local clientele that are doing Aquaforest, and they're having great success. So whatever, and we're not doing different stuff. Like, we used the same components. He's using the salt though, and I think that he's using the 1, 2, 3 like dosing stuff, but we literally had like a complete shutdown after 7 days. And he purchased all of the other stuff from me and is still using it with great success. So it's not like, my batch was like bleach. It wasn't like that. So, I don't know. But, there's no hate involved at all. I mean, I think technically I have an account with like Deepwater, which is like the U.S. distributor for Aquaforest, and I've talked about it with one of the folks over there, and it's like, trust me, it's like no hard feelings or anything. It's not like I secretly hate Aquaforest. Don't get that impression. I will say though that I'm probably not a great candidate for it, but no, like there's plenty of people that really like it a lot, and and kudos to them. Hope to continue that success, but your mileage may vary with anything in the hobby. So I mean, like the advice that I give out a lot is do a ton of water changes, but there are people out there that don't do any water changes and also have success. I mean, there are multiple ways to do this hobby, and you kind of have to figure out what works best for you, because a lot of things will work, but certain things that work for other people might not necessarily work for you. So you do have to kind of watch out for that. Did you see Chasing Corals on Netflix? No, not yet. Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see it. What did your saltwater tank interest come from? It was something that just kind of developed over the years. When I grew up, I wasn't allowed to have cats or dogs, but I was allowed to have fish tanks, and eventually that got into saltwater and then corals. Apple? I didn't know you are looser than. Yeah, I like Apple. It's all right. I mean, it's not. It used to be better when Steve Jobs was alive. Sometimes you need a tyrannical CEO to make interesting stuff. But I don't know, like the iMac Pro actually has me interested because it would allow me to, because it's actually pretty beefy in terms of specs, which is like very kind of uncommon for Apple. They're usually horrifically underpowered, like embarrassingly underpowered for their price. For any price, they're embarrassingly underpowered. But that computer's not embarrassingly underpowered. It's a weird product, but it's kind of perfect for what I do. So I might be getting one of those if I can afford it. Do you take acid? From that shirt, I'm thinking yen. Um, no, I don't take acid. I should though. I would if it were slightly more legal. What fish have you successfully reared in the greenhouse? Nothing really. There's stuff that like um, there's stuff that lays eggs, but I don't think anything really hatches. I think Sanjay is doing the no water changes thing with the Triton method. He might be. I didn't talk to him about it. Sorry, I'm just reading here. Fan is the less commercial channel on YouTube. I mean, I guess, except for the whole literally a for-profit business part of it. Why don't you ship to Europe? Um, it's a very involved thing to ship to Europe. It's very expensive. There's a lot of permits on both sides. So everybody that wants to order from me in Europe does need to have an import permit. Um, it's usually like here it's $100 for an import export permit, I think, per year. So it's not much for that, but the actual process of shipping, I need to send it through what's called like an international port of entry with a Fish and Wildlife Field Office, the closest of which from me is 6 hours away. So there's that. Then there is the paperwork involved, and then the fees involved, and then the actual shipping to go to Europe, which when it's all said and done, per box is hundreds of dollars, plus my time to get these packages 6 hours from where I currently am, and I don't travel that well. So, oh, and by the way, all these things have to survive this whole time, right? It's big, and certain geographies that want corals don't have an infrastructure to handle the corals. And by handle the corals, I mean paperwork wise. So they just get stuck in customs for a week and they die. So it's tough, and it's never really been worth my time to do so. I mean, if somebody wanted to place like a $50,000 order or something like that, maybe I would consider it. But chances are, what would happen is I would screw up a $50,000 order, and everything would die. So it's probably not going to work. Marshall Styles, badass shirt series. So thank you. I used to dress really well, but having so when I had, oh, by the way, like you don't get to dress really nice on fish tank business money. This is a relic of business lawyer money. So I used to dress really nicely. I used to have like a very nice collection of shirts and like suits and stuff. I do not own a suit currently. I work in a greenhouse. What would I do with the suit? So I should work on that. I should work on that. You should own a suit for all you kids growing up that are like in their 20s. You should own one suit at least. I suggest something charcoal gray. It's like the most versatile suit you can buy. It's not too formal, but you can also dress it down if necessary to be social. Let's see. Have you labeled any corals? No. Okay. So, well, I think that the only times where we ever name a coral is if it doesn't have a name currently. Like, I am more than happy with using some other company's name for a coral because we are all about just or I'm sorry, not YouTube, Google search, right? If you type in any corals into Google, there's a really good chance that you're going to come up with Tidal Gardens because we use a lot of very, I guess, search friendly names for stuff. Like, I know there's people that they will take like what is a, a relatively well-known coral, like a radioactive dragonite or an eagle-eyed zoanthid. Like, okay, so I just said those two names, and I bet most of you guys in chat know what I'm talking about with those two zoas, all right? And what they'll do is they will take that coral that, that everybody knows is an eagle-eye or radioactive dragonite, and they will brand it for themselves. And I understand to a certain degree as to why they want to associate their brand with a particular coral. Because they want to be a worldwide coral, they want to be a Jason Fox, they want to be a fill in the blank, right? But if people don't already know who the hell you are, they're not gonna, because they're never gonna find you and your new made up coral because nobody would search for it. You were probably better off just calling it a radioactive dragonite. So when somebody searches for radioactive dragonite, people do, maybe you might come up. So that's why I've always, I always try to find something that has a name first. And then if we have to like name something, we name some boring stuff. Like we call it like green ring blank, red striped blank. It's boring. Like we're not too creative when it comes to that. And preferably we wouldn't have to do that. I got bored of the whole name thing about 5 years ago. And now like my full-time guy Ben, he does like most of the inventory stuff on tidalgardens.com. And like he's done with the naming thing too. So sometimes he'll be like, I don't know what to name this. I'm like, don't look at me. Like I ran out of ideas nearly a decade ago. Like I got nothing. So what does it look like? Oh, it's green. I'd call it green something. Cause that's all I got. That's all I got. I never hear you say this brand is best or that brand is worse. You're really neutral on brands. Yeah, partly because you never know when your next sponsor is going to come from, real talk. Like, you never know when you need to sell out to somebody you've been trashing on the internet. No, I joke, but actually I don't joke. Somebody should pay me to shill for their product. But no, I mean, like, of all the brands that are out there, there's very few that are total garbage. Most of them were actually pretty decent if you kind of spend any time doing research on the devices and whatnot. And now with the internet, you can find tons of reviews. You could probably see a demo at your local fish store for anything that you need. Dan, I know you're big into cameras. Have you ever bought a drone with a camera? I just bought a DJI Phantom 4 this week. Oh, congratulations. So I do love cameras. I love cameras a lot. In fact, I have a new camera coming sometime next month that will annihilate my bank account. And I'm sure that my mom's watching. She's probably like, turning red and like getting really, really angry at the prospect of that. But it was a lot of money. It's very nice though. I pre-ordered it. So no, as far as drones, I'm not a drone guy. For whatever reason, like that gene that people just are all about the drones and about aerial photography and aerial videography. I lack. I want the footage, but I don't want to fly the drone. So one of my business partners in another venture, he bought an Inspire and he bought a DJI Mavic, and he brought his Mavic over. So I think there was like a greenhouse overview. Oh, excuse me. We did just some flyovers of the greenhouse and some of the barn areas and stuff like that here. And it was like really cool, but I didn't have any inclination of, say, hey, let me take the controls, let me fly it around. Like, no, it's cool that it's up there. It's cool that you're filming. I just want the footage. And yeah, and he eventually crashed that drone anyway. Not at my place, but he eventually lost it. Let's see. Rookie Reefer, love your work, Dan. Oh, thank you. Does your family enjoy your hobby? Yes, actually, my mom and my dad help out at the greenhouse quite substantially. They've also helped out just with just the business side of things. So I owe like a lot of the success of Tidal Gardens to their assistance because there was one time where like everything crashed. This was in like 10 years ago or something like that. But everything crashed. Like, it was like 2007 in February. Everything died, and I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm calling it. I'm calling it a day. This is done. And it was actually my mother that convinced me, let's try to start this again. We've done so much work to build this greenhouse and everything like that. Let's try to start this again. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. Everything's dead. I'm done. But nope, I got pulled back in like it's the mafia. And you know what? Good. It turns out it worked out really nicely. I mean, I might be a highly paid, soulless corporate attorney right now if it wasn't for this. So, hey, you guys benefit. I still have a soul, I guess. Are you planning to do other coral packs like the Zoa pack? Yeah. I don't know. Like, so the Zoa pack is kind of unique in that it's like we get to pick them. But I think there's a couple other packs out there. I think there's like a Pavona pack. There might be a Leptoceras pack, and there is a Sea Fan pack. So, and maybe we need to make like a packs section that people can navigate to pretty easily. Oh, by the way, Aquarium Guy 2011. Go ahead and send me an email. I know you've been trying to get my attention for a little while here, but you don't want me to like talk business on a live stream with you. So yeah, please just send me an email. That's your best bet. Okay. All right. I want a new camera, but massive investment. Yeah, and here's the thing, like the truth of the matter is you don't need a great camera. Like I have great cameras because my priorities are not in order and I am like a child when it comes to this when it comes to like spending money. Like I like what I like, I want what I want, and I kind of like just try to make it happen. And it does manifest at the expense of a lot of like other responsible purchases that could have happened, ends up turning into a camera. But I enjoy it. So, and it's also one of those things like when you've been making videos for so long, it's tough to sometimes get motivated to do another video. And that sounds crazy, but it's really true. There is some fatigue associated with this. So anything that I can do to kind of like minimize the fatigue or just any kind of friction that might prevent me from doing a video, I try to eliminate, even if it costs some money to do so. Like this 360-degree camera thing. I mean, a lot of this is it's a cry for help that I need some help and incentive to make some more online content, because the more you do, the better you get at it, the better it performs. I mean, there's a lot of reason to kind of like focus on volume of just production, and like I think I just need to get better at it. Like I make a video maybe once every 2 weeks or so, and there was a guy, I don't know if you know who this person is, but he's Matt from Jayo Nation. He's this guy from Detroit, Michigan that moved all the way to China. And he started a channel originally called Matt's Reef Tank. And eventually, he's not even in the reefing hobby anymore. But he kind of got the idea of doing like a YouTube channel from watching, Tidal Gardens. and he became like a very successful like a daily vlogger. And just the process of putting out a video every day, I mean, his work now is mind blowing. I mean, he is so much better than I am at this. And it's just, you know, you refine your technique. And I kind of need that. Like, I think that it's not a gear thing. I just need the volume thing, and you know, anything that can kind of help me. So the gear in that sense helps me crank up the volume, because I tend to overthink a lot of things, and you kind of get into that mental space where you want to make it perfect. And for someone like me, it's very difficult to kind of accept that done is better than perfect. I've never really gravitated to that, but it is absolutely true, especially with YouTube. It is much better to actually put out a flawed video than it is to sit back on a video to try to make it perfect. It is much better just to hit upload. But I mean, I try to have some standards, I guess, and again, it's sabotaging my efforts in other ways. Let's see. I picked up an orange plate coral today. Looks really cool. Get really swollen when I put it in my tank. Very nice. Very nice. Good luck with it. Man, thanks for all the great videos. Leaving early 2 a.m. here in London. Good night. I'll do some more. You know what? Maybe this can be like a regular thing. Like I'm thinking maybe on Friday nights, not Saturdays, but maybe on Friday nights, we can do like a little hangout. Priorities not in order. Yeah. How did you set up your mass greenhouse harvesting corals? It's a long story. Um, check out my website. There's like a little thing called like, you know, like visit the greenhouse or something like that, and in there it's kind of like this chronological, I guess, article of sorts that kind of goes over it. A lot of trial and error. Chris May, can I use my G6 phone camera to take amazing pictures of my reef tank? Maybe. It's gonna be tough. I mean, like when it comes to, like, cell phone cameras, I mean, cell phone cameras are getting better like all the time, but this is the thing. You might just see like a camera, you know, like the like iPhone or whatever. And actually, iPhones don't have great um, cameras in them. I mean, I guess like the Samsung, you know, Galaxy S8 has like a much better quality camera in it. But what you run into, you'll see like, oh, it's got a 4K camera. It's like, look, this camera here that you're looking at, it's not a 4K camera. It's a 1080p, so it's a, you know, a full HD camera. This camera absolutely destroys anything that's in a phone. And there's a reason why that one originally costs a whole bunch of money in a phone. Well, phones aren't that cheap, but I mean, the camera in the phone, not that great. And it turns out that like stuff like resolution, like 4K, it's kind of not that important when you start to compare it to color space, compared to color science. Like when you actually shoot a picture of something red, does it register as red on the sensor? So Canon, for example, has very, very good color science. Arri has very, very good color science. And like serious productions pay a large fortune to get the color right. Also dynamic range. It's like if you look at the window behind me, if there was a blazing sunlight outside, and then I was wearing, like, let's say, a dark shirt rather than my psychedelic hippie shirt, I don't know. That light difference between dark and bright, 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 it's called like the dynamic range, right? And so a better camera will be able to show you what is outside in the bright sun as well as the details and the shadows of my dark shirt. Cell phone cameras, garbage at that. Dynamic range is one of the things that will add a 0 to the end of whatever camera you're buying. So again, it's tough for cell phone to take a good picture of like a coral reef tank, because the very nature of the light in a reef tank is kind of flawed, because these phones and cameras in general are kind of designed to make use of natural light as much as possible, and so they're kind of tuned to those frequencies. And you can probably guess that a reef tank doesn't look anything like that. So a reef tank, just by definition, is a difficult thing in terms of color and in terms of intensity. They're a lot darker than you think. So you're taking a picture of a off-colored, dim subject with not the best camera in the world. So, I mean, there's certain things that can help you out, but can you take great photos with it? I guess we'll be able to tell what they are. Is Coral Magazine going to come and be publishing your iPhone 6 photos? Nah, I don't think so. All right. So hopefully, I don't know, that answered your little photography question. We can talk photography forever. So Mighty Nano Tank, what's up? Hello, thank you for joining. I'm researching, okay, so this is Canadian Fish and Shrimp. I'm researching calc and I'm very confused. Can you please tell us all you know about calc dosing? I know a lot about calc dosing. So, okay. Kalkwasser is German for lime water. It is a calcium hydroxide solution. And it's actually a supersaturated calcium hydroxide solution. So it's very high in pH. It has a lot of calcium and alkalinity ions kind of like mixing around in there. So what you want to do when you're making this up is you have your RODI water, and you want to make a supersaturated solution. So you put in all this powder, kind of like get it nice and stirred up, and then you wait until the kind of like the cloudy stuff settles out of solution, and what's left, that supernate, that's clear, is now a supersaturated calcium hydroxide Kalkwasser solution that then you want to drip into your tank. So ideally, the thing that you're using to drip into your tank is going to be slightly higher than the level of that sediment at the bottom, because you don't want to put the sediment into your tank. You want to put in that clear supernate, and you wanted to drip it in slowly and into an area of higher flow, because it is so high in pH. Once you drip it into your tank, it wants to immediately react, and if it's not dissipated fast enough, it'll come out of solution, and in that process actually potentially lower calcium and alkalinity, like what you don't want to have happen. You're trying to like kind of raise those two together. Kalkwasser is wonderful. There's a lot of like really well documented benefits for it that go back 30 something years. It is a tried and true method of raising calcium and alkalinity in stony coral tanks. It'll improve skimming. It'll also help with even, I think it helps with phosphate even, because the high pH nature of it will precipitate phosphate out of the water. So a lot of benefits to it. Okay. Let's see. How large do you grow colonies up before you frag them and sell them? We're pretty aggressive about fragging colonies. They typically don't get very big unless they're completely neglected. Then they grow really big. How much does the temp in your greenhouse swing during the day? If we're doing well, not more than 3 degrees. If we're doing bad, 10. And yes, that is daily. And we try to not have 10-degree swings. So right now, I just got a text saying that my temperatures are a little high in set 3. And they are. Don't know why set 3 would be that high, but it is. So right now my temperatures range from 77.6 to 80.2. And 80.2 is high, especially considering it's 9 p.m. here. And, oh, look at that. I know what's going on. Okay. So let me just respond to this text real quick. Here, probably. Not well calibrated. Yeah, so not ideal, but 80 degrees, not the worst thing in the world. Okay. Try orange filters for blue light. You can take decent photos. Okay. Not the worst advice in the world. But I don't like those orange filters. Is it better than the super blue? Maybe. Maybe it is. I don't like the gel filters though. It's like it's you've overcompensated for the problem. I mean, you can tell that it's like you're using an orange filter, and if you can tell that you're using an orange filter, the orange filter didn't do its job. But if that's all you have, I don't know. Again, it might be better than having like an oversaturated blue look that's just blobby and garbage. So yeah, maybe that is the best you can do. But it tends to be a little overkill onto the orange amber side of things. Pretty sure that they get colonies and are fragment. Well, we do to some degree, but I'll tell you what. And like real talk here, I would prefer getting one spectacular coral a month and propagating that forever than to bring in a bunch of coral from the ocean, frag it up, and sell it. Now, that is not like a judgment on people that do that. Like, it's their business. I don't care. The market cares or doesn't care to varying degrees. It's not that is really not my fight. The way that Tidal Gardens is set up, it's like we don't have infinite space. So we have to allocate space to corals. And a lot of our corals we've had for so long. And it's like, they're not terribly exciting. They're not great sellers, some of them, but they take up space that could be bounce mushrooms that would sell like hotcakes for a lot of money. Why are we growing Coral X when we could be growing bounce mushrooms at that same spot doing the exact same thing, right? So for an operation like Tidal Gardens, it would be more beneficial for us to pump our brakes on the stuff that's like, I guess, and it's not that so much that, oh, this is common and, you know, trust me, some of the common stuff that we sell here outsells every other quote unquote rare coral. Okay, so it's not even so much that, but there's like some things that are just, it's literally grown faster than we can handle, and it would be better just to like thin that stuff out and grow some more like, I guess, like higher priority things. So in that sense, I would like to accumulate more, I guess, like high value things, because I mean, if I wanted to make the most money, I would grow tons of cheap garbage, you know, throwaway type corals and sell it thousands at a time to like big chain outlets, and you'd make like about $1 a piece, and you'd make a lot of dollars a piece because of just like the sheer volume that they'd be able to take on, versus trying to sell like a couple corals for a lot of money. But for the type of operation that we are, I need to be entertained a little bit by what I do, and I would much rather grow out stuff that I think is fascinating and looks beautiful and is like kind of more at the cutting edge of the market. I mean, like I consider us to be like a premium coral place. Now, I'll be perfectly honest, okay? I think that there's several other retailers that have nicer corals than we do, and a lot of it has to do with our inability to keep certain of the more fragile things alive. Like I would love to have some of the better like acropora and stuff like that, but like realistically, greenhouse is not the best situation for that. So like if we were ever to have like a more conventional structure, a building, maybe then. But for now, I think there's definitely some other people that, you know, are in like I guess smaller, like warehouse type systems that are doing better, and like they're doing great. So, but I still consider like Tidal Gardens to be like a premium outlet. I mean, I don't think that we have like the absolute best corals. We have really nice ones, but not yet the best. I'm not going to be comfortable saying that just yet, but we're getting there. Okay. Any suggestion for dinoflagellates? Not a ton. I mean, I think everybody is gonna have them. I mean, if it's like a really bad outbreak, I don't know. You might have to consult Dr. Google for that. This is just a reminding of the iPhone ad near the end, shot on an iPhone. So strange thing about those shot on an iPhone things, yes, they were shot on an iPhone. They were also using like a motorized slider that probably cost $3,000. They're probably using like a stabilizer that costs X number of dollars. They're probably using color correction software that's like maybe like DaVinci Resolve. And if the whole suite of DaVinci Resolve might be $30,000, like they spent as much money as humanly possible on everything that is not the iPhone. Have you watched Chasing Coral yet? No, not yet. Let's see. Than, why don't you want to put that sediment in the tank? So I'm assuming that you're talking about kalkwasser. You don't want to put the sediment in the tank because it's also kind of like highly reactive, and you're more likely to have a chemical reaction that's going to actually strip stuff out as it adheres to that sediment. Ricky Reefer, you inspired me to try aquaculture in a sense, coral in Australia. We don't get frags over here, just big, fresh, big colonies. Yeah, I mean, I think aquaculture is actually very rewarding in a weird way. Like, you know, as I get older and more frumpy, it's like things like gardening become more interesting. You get more excited about getting socks for Christmas, and you know, you get really excited about getting like an electric steam mop to clean your floors. And things like growing coral like a farm starts to sound more and more exciting rather than like attending a really fancy party or going to a club or anything. Like, you know, sometimes I just want to be home alone with cats and corals. So, but you know what, I'll tell you what, at least if you start early with the whole coral aquaculture thing, you know, you kind of age into enjoying it even more. The plate coral is really difficult to frag. You can lose the entire... Yeah, so there's all types of plate corals, and certain ones can be propagated, and certain ones definitely cannot. Germs. 5555555. Are your tanks glass or acrylic? Definitely glass. I do not mess with the acrylic. It's like that stuff scratches if I look at it wrong. Glass scratches sometimes, so no, I'm all about the glass. All custom glass aquariums. Messaged them yesterday to try to get a license to stream, so stay tuned. Okay, what was the context of that? Don't know. Don't know. Well, I'm 28, so hopefully I still have time to grow into it, yeah. You are still a wee babe, still. No, I'm old. People my age are usually dead. So how are we doing on time and all? How long have I been streaming? Looks like... I can't tell. I'm very confused. I think an hour and something, but like I just looked at our little so I'm looking at something on like the YouTube back end here, and it's like it says that I've been streaming for like 3 minutes. So hopefully you guys are still with me. What is my holy grail coral? There are so many, and that goes to like the question of like, you know, what's my favorite coral or anything like that. I really don't have a favorite, but right now, um, we have a coral it's called an endophilia. It kind of looks like a scoli. It kind of looks like a sinarina, but it's kind of its own thing, and it's a mix of like pink and green and purple. And I don't really want to sell it. We will probably put it on the website for sale, and it will be a unreasonably high price because I don't really care if it sells or not. But it's really cool, so it should be seen. It's beautiful. Chris May, thinking about adding a lobophilia to my reef. They can be challenging now. The ones that were from Indonesia way back when, they were pretty much bulletproof. The ones coming from Australia now are much more sensitive. So, yeah, good luck. We don't always have the greatest success with those. Ken Tuttle, I've really enjoyed all your videos. Well, thank you for watching. I love me some Micromusa Lord Halwensis and Scrolls and Scolies. Yeah, they're very nice. That's another coral that I wish I did better with. Like, I sometimes go to my customers' homes and see their tanks, and I see like a micromusa that they purchased from us, and it's like, that looks way better than anything I've got going on. And they don't do anything special. What's the magic ratio of nitrate to phosphate in an LPS tank? Not really sure, but I mean, I try to keep both of those fairly low. I think if it were my tank, and again, I don't like to chase numbers so much. It's far more important just to kind of like, you know, use the eye test and kind of determine based on a lot of what you're seeing with the coral health where you should be. But if you were to try to get in the ballpark, like about 5 of each, or actually for phosphate, ignore me, like closest to 0 for phosphate. And about nitrates, like, you know, 5-ish isn't too bad. 120 minutes. Okay, thank you. Any tips on someone who's thinking of starting a reef channel on YouTube? I need to take my own advice on starting a reef tank channel on YouTube. First and foremost, just make the damn videos. Just do it. Everything else you'll figure out on your own. But the most important thing is just to get started, and just try to enjoy it. I mean, like I really envy the people who love doing this. Not to say that I don't love it, because I do really like it. Oh, I sound like I'm breaking up. It's like, I like you a lot, but no, it can be difficult when you've been doing it for a long time. So, as just do it as long as you enjoy it, but the most important thing is just to get started. Like, don't even worry about, like, you know, monetization. Don't worry about, like, you know, making the most ridiculous clickbaity nonsense, trying to game the system so much. I think that if you have like a good message and you can connect with people, that is 90% of the battle. The rest of it, I mean, there's like multinational corporations that are, you know, trying to do this at a very high level for that last 10%, and you're already there if you can kind of just connect with people. So something more practical, get a tripod. Thank me later. XX Plasta XX. Do you use phytoplankton? No, we do not currently. What is the one you regret ever since you joined the reef hobby? My one regret. I'm typically not a regret guy. Since joining the hobby, I should have left when I had the chance. No, I kid. I don't think I have any regrets hobby related. I think things have turned out pretty well. I'm sure that there's like stuff that I could have done differently that might have like made more money or something like that. But I mean, in the end, it's like I'm in a good place, and I can't think of anything that I would really like, think back on and say, man, I really should have done blank instead. Because I mean, coming from like my educational background, like I have like a graduate degree in business and in law. I went to like a top university for my undergrad. Um, I went to the University of Michigan, and like I had friends that went to like the business school at the University of Michigan, which basically means that you're going to be working for like a bulge bracket investment bank if you wanted to. And so like the one guy that lived in my house, he works for Goldman Sachs, probably makes $1 million a year, that sort of thing, right? And I have like a decent background to be able to be like an investment banker or something, but that's not what I would want to ever do. I mean, I would be like so close to suicidal or something like that if I was working in that field. And um, I think that like again, this is going back to your question about about regret as far as this whole thing goes. Um, I think that my biggest regret might be not just coming to this really realization that you need to basically be comfortable in your own skin, and if you are somehow able to just do what you really enjoy and get paid for it, you've won at life. And hey, I'm good. I get to do a business hobby for money. I get to do videos, and presumably that'll make money eventually, stuff like that. So just that I guess that's my life mantra. And since that has worked out, I don't have any regrets. It's like I just want to do stuff I enjoy forever, and all those things I enjoy, make some money doing so. What's that circle in the window behind you? I think it's a light. I've got like 5 different light fixtures. I just like threw them all up. Like, by the way, lighting tip and lighting secret: never have the lights hit you directly. It looks too harsh. So you want to bounce light off of different things, and so you're just seeing a reflection of like I think it's called like a ring light or a beauty light or something. But oftentimes people mess up the beauty light thing because like when you saw like the crazy things in my eyes. Very intentional when I did that, by the way. But the problem with it is it also makes like a stark white appearance on your face, and that's not a great look. So I just have it like bouncing off a wall. Can you talk about the types of Montepora lighting flow? Okay, so there's like we probably have like 20 different types of Montepora. So I can't really get into like the different types. Essentially, you're talking about plating, encrusting, branching. Many different species of all of those, many different color morphs, even within those species. As far as care, they're very similar. High light, high flow, clean water. Okay, I think my kitties are like angry with me and want me to feed them. So I think I have to call it a night. So here's the thing, guys. I'll tell you what. For all you folks that aren't subscribed, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification button so that if I do a live stream in the future, you will get notified and can hang out again. I would like to do this more often because now that I kind of have like a feel for setting this up in here, because I actually this is funny. Like earlier this evening, I had actually set this up in multiple locations, and I'm like, I can't sit here for more than 10 minutes. So, yep, you change it. So move all the lights, move all the audio stuff, move the video stuff, my computer and everything. Just move everything. And I'm like, I'm too tired to start the stream now. So finally, it's like, this I can do. This I can do. But yeah, I think that just might just have some hangout sessions like this. Maybe I might have a guest over, maybe not. And if I wanted to go like, more, I guess, production quality, I might like, just play some other videos and talk about it. I don't know, just some ideas I'm tossing around. I'll answer like the last couple questions here, and then I'll feed my cats and probably start thinking about Game of Thrones. Seen some recent videos, inspired me to get back in the hobby. Thank you. Well, welcome back. I have an SPS Colony STN. What should I do? Frag the good areas? Yeah, go ahead and do that. I mean, it's unfortunately with RTN or STN, it's when you're talking about fragging, it's kind of like a last ditch effort. But it does work sometimes. Dipping for bugs. It's usually not a bug thing quite so much. Yeah, sorry, that's a toughie. Like we sometimes like lose stuff with STN or RTN. It's like great. There's so much quality information on YouTube. I wouldn't have started in the hobby if it wasn't for channels like yourself. Thanks. Oh, appreciate it. I'm glad that you got something out of it, out of my ramblings. So again, thanks for coming and hanging out. Good night, guys. I'm out of here. Sorry, kitties. Sorry. Oh wait, hold on. Can you go jump here? Okay. I don't know if you can be on stream, but she's right here. All right. I'm out of here. Catch you guys later.